Well, he was not getting out of the chair, but I guess he is now. Alright. Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to be taking a look at this AC portable electronic tachometer. My buddy Tyler gave this to me to kind of take a look at it and see if I can get it to work. At first glance, it looks like you've got this thing, but there's really nothing to plug into it or whatever, so it's kind of interesting. But I've taken a closer look and I want to show you what I've found and tell you a little bit about this thing. Now, in a way, this is a piece of General Motors history. It's from the company AC, which, sounds a little bit like AC Delco, right? And if you look at this thing, it's from Flint, Michigan, which is where General Motors used to be headquartered. So it's kind of cool to see something this old still existing. It is the model ST122. And as you can see, this box has kind of been through it. And so is this thing. We've got some cracked glass right here, and it is glass. And you can see the meter kind of bounces around if I do that. But you've got a switch right here, and this switch is to select the number of cylinders on the engine you're trying to check the RPM of. Now, I was trying to figure out, how do you plug this thing in? I don't see anywhere to hook anything up. How are you supposed to work this? Do you just set it on the engine and it starts working? Well, let me show you what I found. I kind of gave up on looking for things and I just started to take it apart. So I loosened this screw, and what I found was that this kind of slides open and voila, you've got some leads in here. And you actually have the owner's manual right here too, so I want to show you this. I'll let you pause the video and read this if you want, but I think that that's fully in frame there. And then on the back, that's fully in frame there. So if we look right here, we see December 6th, 1965. So that's how old these instructions are. And that gives you an idea of the era at which this came out. And basically what the instructions say is you take your red wire, you hook it up to your distributor coil, and then you take the black wire, you hook it up to ground. And what's going to happen in here is it's going to measure, how many pops of the rotor on the distributor it's touching, and I don't know the terms too well. I'm too young for that. I can't use this on any of my cars because they're all coil on plug ignition. So what I see immediately, and it's quite obvious, as I stretch this out, oh my gosh, maybe you hear that, and you can certainly see it. It's literally falling apart all over my bench. And this is not something you want to see when you're working with voltages like those at a distributor. Those are very high voltages. So this is not going to work. But if we look right here, what's kind of cool is it looks like we might actually be able to reuse these little clips here. I had already done some digging through my stuff. I thought this was going to be a lost cause, but now that I pull this insulation back right here, I see we've got a little flathead screw, which means we can put new wire on this thing. Let's see what kind of material it is. And this is steel, so that means we can solder to it as well. We can get a really, really nice connection. It looks like all I need is new wire right here. And I did look inside. There's really not too much going on in here. What I think I can do, let's show you in there. I think what I can do is I can reuse those terminals that fit in there so nicely. I can put heat shrink at those ends and use the actual conductor underneath the insulation, and then we can try and test it. So I think that's what I'd like to do right now. So I'm going to get these out, I'm going to get these off, and I'm going to put some new wire in. So let's go. So I've got my new wires cut about the same length as the old ones. I was just taking a look at the gauge because you definitely don't want to use a smaller gauge wire than what was originally used. And we can see here that the new wire is a similar gauge to the old one, a little bit bigger. This copper is pretty stiff, and of course this insulation on here is new. It's going to last much longer than this old insulation. I'm going to pull all this old insulation off of here so we have just conductor. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a butt splice between the two wires right here. So we're going to need solder and heat shrink for that. This little piece right here should do just fine. We'll cut it in half, use one end for this and the other end for the other wire, the red one. So I think I'll cut this conductor to about here. So we have a little over 1/2 inch right there. First we're going to put this on, just because it's easier to do it here than at the other end. What I like to do is kind of open each one up and then kind of marry them together like this. And then we're going to kind of wrap each one around the other, like so. And now we're going to get this nice and hot and use a good amount of solder. This is basically how I did every wire on the Jag and the Volvo. It works very well. Just make sure we're going to get full penetration across that entire thing. Not too bad. Then let's flip it over. Take a look on the other side. It looks like we can do the same thing, so let's do that right now. You should really use something to secure this, but I don't have that. And there we go. That looks pretty decent. So that's going to be very strong. Nothing's going to break that. So now we just take the heat shrink, we slide it over, get our heat gun, and go to town. You can also use a lighter if you don't have a heat gun. Let us repeat for the red wire. So now, since we know that this needs to kind of stay as one thing, and the original thing was kind of like a bonded wire, kind of like you see on any general power cord, I'm just going to take little bits of heat shrink tubing and I'm going to space them evenly across the two wires. And what that'll do is once I shrink it, it'll keep the wires as one-ish, and it's a little cleaner than zip ties in my opinion. So here's our new wire harness so far. Now we just have to attach these guys back on. Yeah, see, he's back. He is back in his chair. Right? It's your chair, not mine. Okay, where were we? So at this point, now we need to figure out how we're going to attach these guys here to our new wires. And we see here that in addition to the screw, we actually had some little strain relief. They actually had a little crimp right there. So I'm going to have to bend these guys back so I can rebend them to bend around the new insulation. So I think the best way to do that is to just kind of take a small pair of pliers and I don't know. And let's see how much room we have here for the insulation. Okay, so I've got the wire in here. I think I'll go ahead and bend this guy here so that we get a nice little grip on the new wire. It's not going to be perfect, but it'll be something, you know. So yeah, there's a little bit of strain relief there. And now, let's take this screw and try to thread it in there. Move this conductor off to the side. Now, I should probably be using a much smaller screwdriver for this, but, you know, this is what it is. Let's take those other strands, let's kind of bend them in to wrap around the screw. See, one more in there. Okay, got it. So now I can tighten this. So there, that's fairly solid. It's not coming out. But I think I want to go a little bit extra and just heat this up and put a dab of solder on there. So that'll make it nice and painful for the next person to take this apart, but I have a feeling I am the only person who will ever be doing this ever again. So, mark my words. We'll see if that actually turns out being the case. And you know, all they'll have to do to undo this is take the Heiko FR3 whatever they're at in the future, and you know, remove the solder. There, got a nice little tiny extra bond there. So let's slide this over, and that's pretty much all we need for this part here. Now we got a nice new thing. Let's do the same thing for the ground wire. And there we have it. Another nice, reliable, hopefully, connection here. So slide the boot over, and there we are. We are ready to put this back in the tachometer. And we know that the positive goes on the one with that little red thingy in there. It's insulating it from the rest of the case, and then the negative, well, that's going to ground out on the case. It's the stud that doesn't have any insulator on it. So I'm going to go put these back in. Now let's make sure we can even use this as intended. Just kind of coil it up, I suppose, like so. And we should be able to just fold it right in here, or jam it in, I don't know. Yeah, just get one more coil and it'll be fine. Put that back in. And there you go. It's not quite as flexible as the old wire, but there we go. This thing's ready for a test. So I think this has points ignition on it. This is a 1940 what?
Studebaker President.
What's the year?
1940.
1940. Straight 8.
Everything is packed and running.
And I think it'll be a good match for this.
Battery disconnect under the fender. Alright, let's get it opened up.
Man, you've had this for about a year now, right?
Yeah, like that. Took a year to get the title sorted out. State of Pennsylvania. Want to see if it starts first?
No, let's hook it right up.
Okay.
So we take the red wire, we put it on the primary of the coil.
Okay, and where's the...
And then connect the black clip lead to a good ground on or near the distributor frame.
Enough.
Quite easy.
You got lots of ground. There's the coil. And there's the ground. Well, I don't know, that's...
What about that stud right there?
Gotta find something that's not rusty. Let's just try it. See.
Yeah.
Right, let's see if it'll start up for us.
Yeah. Alright. What do we got?
That's the fuel pump.
Nothing out of the tack. Oh, but I do need to switch it to 8. Still nothing. Yeah, I probably need a better ground. Where that thing go though?
Let me clean up this ground with the drill and all.
Yeah. Okay, take two. We cleaned up the points here. Doesn't really want to. Nothing. Oh, hold on. Is that battery positive that we're clipping onto? Or is that the primary?
I don't know. Oh, it's just negative ground maybe.
Oh, is that what's going on?
Let's try it. Yes, it's positive ground actually.
Okay, it's gonna help us. Yeah, there it is. Look at that. We just had to do positive ground and now it works.
That is way cool. Look at that.
Give it a rev.
Yeah, a little faster. Sure.
Yeah. That's 1500. It's 2000. At least it says it's 2000. It sounds like about 2000. I don't know. I'm not very well versed in straight 8 noises.
The exhaust on this thing is a straight through muffler because the compression is so low it doesn't need anything.
Really?
It's a straight through muffler. There's no noise to it.
So this car is, as the kids would call it, straight piped.
Yeah. But the compression is so low in these motors it doesn't really sound like anything.
That's incredible. Yeah. Ain't that the niftiest damn thing you ever did see? Not really all that useful, I guess, but...
Well, depending, when you're setting, the old cars when you're setting up the vacuum and vents and stuff, it's probably pretty much what they use it for.
That's true. If you flip the switch to 1, it goes to about 23, 24. At 4, it goes to about double what it's saying on 8. At 3 and 6, you get about 1,000, and then at 8, about 700, which is about what an engine should idle at. So I'd call this thing accurate. We gotta shut this off before we suffocate in here. So I guess that's about it for this video. Nice and simple, low stakes, just having fun, testing out cool stuff. Thanks to Dan for providing his 1940 Studebaker President with positive ground. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.